Good afternoon, good morning, all of the things. I am having technical difficulty today. Let's see if it fixed it. See if I am live. I'll give it a few minutes. I don't see anybody. Let's see. Happy Sunday. All right, maybe I got some folks showing up. I messed up my StreamYard this morning, so I'm not exactly sure if I'm in the right place. Good morning. Hello. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Hello. Hi, Cynthia. Audris. Happy Sunday. Glad to see you all here. I was having some technical difficulty, so pardon my tardiness. And I think I messed it up again. Bear with me. Hopefully it comes right back. There it is. Crystal. Tracy. Happy Sunday. Means StreamYard aren't vibing well today. Buenos tardes. Hi, Rosalind. Happy Sunday. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Happy Sunday, folks. Thank you, Crystal. Crystal hit the ground running. Crystal is on it. Thank you, Crystal. Happy Sunday, good people. I am not navigating StreamYard well. I have way too many, so it's not really StreamYard's fault. It's really my fault because I have way too many Windows, Google sessions open on my computer. So I had opened StreamYard on one Google page that I have, whatever I just called it, on my computer, and then I couldn't find it. So I went back and opened another one. And then when I did that, there was an echo and I couldn't figure out where the other StreamYard that was already open was. So it's really not StreamYard's fault. It's really my fault for doing too much, having too much happening over here on my computer. But happy Sunday, good people. Happy to see y'all here. Thank y'all for being here. I'm going to jump in, do my intro so we can get started since I already came out the gate late. So my name is Jewel Pierce. And as I introduce myself, I always say that I built a fancy tiny house in 2015 because I don't believe that you have to give up luxury to go tiny. And since that time, I have shared my journey to inspire, educate, do all the things for folks who are interested in the movement. I do offer coaching and consultations to help others in their tiny house journey. So once this goes live and I update all the things, you'll be able to find links to schedule with me in the video description below. And as I'm doing all of that, I like to serve up a lot of representation in the movement. I want us to see ourselves. I want us to be in this movement. I want us to be successful in the movement. I want us to do all the things. And so that is so much of what I feel like my gifts are in this movement. So if you find the video helpful, as Crystal has already asked you all to do, please like it, share it, subscribe to the channel. And turn on the notifications so that you'll know when stuff is going live over here, since I might not always be on my job to let you know that stuff is live. All right. So happy Sunday, everybody. Hope you all, yes, too many browser tabs open. That's exactly what it was. I think I said that and then I forgot what I said. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Day. I appreciate that. Happy Sunday, Geraldine. Are you back in the States? Hi, Sandra. Evelyn. Um, Glad to have y'all here. Hope y'all are having a fabulous day. It's a beautiful day here. It's also, I think, Mother Nature is over here a little confused because climate change is real. And so right now we've got some cold weather, but also got some pollen, which is impacting my allergies and my eyes all jacked up. But we know it'll get it together at some point. So um, happy Sunday. So this Sunday, I had a couple conversations after the live last Sunday, and also was thinking about the conversation, and so I kind of wanted to expand on what we were talking about. Welcome back, Geraldine. Expand on what we were talking about as far as reinvention, because like we talked about the need for reinvention, a lot of the ways to do it, but we didn't talk about reinvention itself, which kind of came out in some of the conversation that I had post the session and some of the thoughts that I had post the session. And so the title of today's session, even though I don't have a thumbnail yet because I'm delinquent, is like the part 2 of reinventing yourself, but that there are levels to the reinvention of self. And so I as I was thinking about that, it was whether you're really doing some surface work or if it's some real deep work. And in the reinvention, sometimes it's just the high level surface stuff, and sometimes it is going deeper into some soul work. And as I had thought about it, I was thinking about it kind of like a plant. When you have a plant, sometimes the plant might just need some pruning to get it going again. Sometimes it might be that you have to repot the plant, and then sometimes it's like a whole do-over. Where you uproot it and you're doing some major work. And I think that was my analogy. I think I might have skipped a step there, but y'all just work with me. And so if we use like the plant metaphor for this, so if you are just pruning it, and it's still the roots of it's still in a good place. You just need to prune it, but some of the things need to go. So you're clipping away at the plant. And so that could be, as we were talking about last week, that could be, if we're talking about your house situation, that could be decluttering. That could be getting rid of some habits. Hi, Deborah. That could be pruning back some relationships. Like it's not major. You're just doing some cutting back with if you're pruning it. And then if you have to repot the plant, the plant has outgrown where it is, and it needs to go somewhere else. It's not necessarily broken. It's not necessarily in a bad way. It is outgrown the container. And so we can also think about that. Like for me, as I talk about tiny houses, I think about them as the container. But if we're thinking about it in the container or the context of a plant, so the container we're in no longer is supporting the plant, or it no longer supports the ability for that plant to continue growing. And so you need to repot that plant. And so pruning would be letting go of habits and relationships maybe, or decluttering. But if you are repotting the plant, then you've outgrown this particular location and you need to go somewhere else. And so that could be needing new surroundings, new energy around us. Hi, Juanita. Welcome. So that's a different level to the reinvention. And then there's also uprooting. And so that would be like the deepest level of reinvention. That's where it's obviously bigger than pruning. It's bigger than just taking the plant and repotting it, taking the plant as it is and putting it just in a bigger container. If you are uprooting it, then this particular container, the soil that the plant was in, all of it needs to go, because it's just not helping the plant. It's not nourishing the plant. So it is a complete overhaul. And so that is, I feel like, what we talked a lot about last week, where that could be your beliefs, that could be some routines, that could be the some limiting beliefs, the way that you've been thinking about things, or some of the things that you've just been doing that are no longer sustaining you. And so that is the like the major overhaul. And it's not necessarily destruction, because you're still taking that plant. You are just taking it down to the roots to start over. So in a lot of ways, that's the liberation for the plant. It's freedom. You're not killing the plant. You're giving it a better chance to thrive. So if we think about that in as the levels to reinvention, it can be pruning. Crystal said she excels at pruning, but she's not good with plants. That sounds dangerous. So we could be, so that's the levels of reinvention, if we think about it from a plant perspective. So it's the pruning, it's the repotting, or it is totally uprooting and starting completely over. And so sometimes when we're reinventing ourselves, we have to, before we even begin the process, we have to determine what level of reinvention is required. Is it something that is low level, basic? I need to change some habits. I need to change some relationships, get rid of some clutter, but it's like minimal disruption. That would be the consideration of the metaphor of pruning. And then if it is mid, it's bigger than pruning, but it's not at a high level. That's the repotting, where you might need some new surroundings, new tools in your arsenal, new things to do, new energy around yourself. Like it is, obviously it's bigger. It requires more effort. And then the deepest part of the reinvention is going to be uprooting, like completely changing. Like, and uprooting can be new locations, new surroundings. Uprooting can be, if you're talking about a plant, like the plant could totally be going in a different area, new surrounding. You might give the plant away, like you uprooting it. It's not doing well in this particular container. And so those are some of the levels that we have to consider in whatever reinvention that we need. And I think if we think about all of the options of the levels of reinvention, they all lead to liberation. In even if it's a minor pruning, it takes you to a better place. If it's a mid, it's taking you to a better place, another level. And then if it's the major uprooting, but the identification of where we are is the biggest piece of to understand what it is that we need to do. So if you know that you maybe you keep being in this type of situation over and over again, maybe it is you've changed the job, you've changed your city, you've changed some relationships, but you still are in that same cycle, then that sounds like you only are doing the basics, maybe the pruning, maybe you've taken it to the next level of repotting. But if you find yourself repeating cycles, then that sounds like you really need to go into doing some deeper work, and that might require uprooting, um, and asking yourself some questions. Like if we talk about the plant metaphor, then really understanding the roots. Like, are the roots good? And going from there, and paying attention to all of the, like, do you need new soil? Do you it's so many variables to plants, and those variables, do you need less water? Do you need more sunshine? All of those types of questions can help you figure out the level of, and those type of questions obviously applicable to self, can help you figure out the level of reinvention that you need. And I think that understanding that part of it is just as important as the reinvention itself, because like sometimes you can do too much. Maybe you just needed some minor change, but you go all the way through the uprooting and it was too much and it still doesn't necessarily work for you, or you're not doing enough. And so the sitting with that to understand the level of reinvention that's needed first is important, so that you're successful. Like sometimes as you thinking about it, like I talked last week about stillness, being in stillness. And sometimes stillness is necessary for reinvention, but sometimes it's also movement. Like there are some things that actually need to be done, or it's a combination of stillness and movement. Like you have to, before you just start doing stuff all willy-nilly, it is the point of understanding the root, and then understanding what the root needs from the, like if we keep talking about the levels, if from a pruning perspective, from a repotting perspective, or an uprooting perspective. And then you can go back to the bigger pieces that we talked about last week in reinvention, the ways to do it and how to manage it, manage your own expectations, manage external expectations, and then kind of go forward from there. So maybe I did the sessions backward, but without talking about the levels first and then talking about the bigger overview of reinvention. But y'all get the gist of what we're doing over here. And so really we have to ask ourselves, like, if we need reinvention, what are we being called to reinvent, and what level of reinvention is required, and what does that look like to honor what we're being called to do, and then being willing to put in the work. Because pruning is fairly simple. Repotting, it's not one of my favorite things to do. And it also takes skill. Like you just can't take the plant and repot it in this bigger container and not tend to making sure you've given it enough dirt, the right dirt. Like there's some still some thought that has to go into repotting. And then the bigger thing of uprooting, that's major work, putting all of the scenarios together correctly for that plant to thrive. So that's what I had and I didn't talk about that last week and wanted to make sure I addressed that. Evelyn is saying sometimes, let's see what Evelyn said. Sometimes we need a professional to help us decide what we need. I agree with that. And we talked about that last weekend and getting help. Like sometimes it's just not something that you can figure out on your own. Um, Glorious Life on Wheels says sometimes a person, just like a plant, needs some sunshine and light. For an individual, that can be bringing people into your life who add light and encouragement instead of the opposite. 100%. I think that's why, because a plant is a living, breathing thing, I think that's why when I was thinking about the metaphor as a plant, I think that's why it applies so much to our own reinvention, because plants need, so much of what we need as humans. Obviously we need more, but that metaphor really, if you can't understand where you are, like thinking about it from a plant perspective might help a little bit, in identifying the level that you require. That's all I had today, y'all. I just wanted to touch back on that piece of the conversation from last week and add it as maybe an addendum to our discussion. What else y'all have going on? How's your Sunday going? How's your reinvention going? If you got anything from last Sunday, are you already in the process? Have you identified anything, the reinvention itself? And I think I've done all of the, I've been at all of the stages at some point. The pruning, the repotting, and the uprooting. I've done all of them. I think sometimes you get started at a level and you're thinking it's just pruning, and then you realize you need to keep going. And so maybe you just prune back and you're like, that wasn't enough. I need another pot. And that wasn't enough. Like we got to take it down to the basics and just, we got to go all out and uproot. So it's a process, but it's also the process of learning self and being vulnerable with self and honest with self to actually be successful with all of this. Glorious Life on Wheels says, it never ceases to amaze me that at 82, I'm still reinventing myself. Because that is the benefit of continuing to grow. Like just because you reach a certain age, I don't believe you need to stop growing or learning. So I can relate with that so much. Like even at that age, you can start all over and decide to do different things. Like one of my favorite statements is, it's never, you always get to dream a new dream. So it doesn't mean because I hit 60 I can't dream new dreams, or I can't be a different person. I can't reinvent myself to do this thing that I've wanted to do, or to change this thing that I don't like about myself. So okay, Glorious Life said, let me take that back, I'm 72. Yeah, I agree that it's a continual cycle. Evelyn is saying, may put some people in the pots. Okay. Okay. I think the folks who don't continue to reinvent themselves aren't growing, and that's a dangerous place to be. That you aren't growing, that you aren't identifying new directions. Good morning. And hello to folks that are going to watch in the future. Y'all, I appreciate that y'all come in and say hello. So I appreciate that. So hello to y'all in the future. Absolutely. Jocelyn is saying, learn, grow, evolve, no age limits. Absolutely not. You keep learning, growing, evolving until you're no longer here, if you're doing the right thing. And that piece of it is important. And it's not, the reinventing of self is not the running away of self. Like you can't just be harmful and then decide, okay, I'm going to reinvent myself. And I'm like, there's some amends that you have to make. If you're causing harm in this pre reinvention, like there's some stuff you need to do before you just decide that you're becoming someone else. There's some transitional stuff. Otherwise that's just some dysfunctional behavior. So we're not talking about the reinvention from dysfunctional behavior without doing the proper work to correct that behavior and make the amends. So there's a lot that has to go into reinvention so that you're doing it correctly. Agree. When you stop growing, you stop living. That's exactly right. I agree with that 100%. And I think, yeah, Crystal just touched on something. Learning more now than when you were younger. That's that saying that says youth is wasted on the young, or something like that. Where when you think about it, like the immaturity that you have when you're young, and how you evolve and grow and learn so much more as you get older, but you don't have that youth anymore. So it almost seems as if it's backward, that you should be able to take advantage of the youth, because now you're more knowledgeable, you're more centered, you're more grounded. So I agree that as you grow, and if you're, but that there's also the statement that, like, what growing older doesn't always equal maturity either. So there's the work that has to be done in all of this as we grow and evolve. There's some real work that has to be done there. Happy Sunday to you, Rose. Happy Sunday. All right, good people. This might be the shortest live ever. I think you can, my eyes a little jacked up, hence my squinting today. That's a good point. The main thing is just like taking a trip, taking an assessment, so you know where you're starting from in order to know how to reach your desired destination. Absolutely. Absolutely. What else y'all got? Kitty. I have some projects upcoming that I'll be sharing on the house. I've got a couple of sponsors I'm working with. I mentioned them last week. Starting this week, I'll be working with Amerilux to replace the roof on my porch, which has been damaged from storms and all that kind of stuff, and heat. I don't want a traditional roofing system on that porch. I like the panels that allow for sunlight and stuff to come in. And so I am replacing that with a product from a company called Amerilux next week, or this coming week. And so I'll be sharing a lot of that work and about their product. I'm excited to be partnering with them. And then I'm working on the end of the month, updating my bathroom. I've had a tub since I built the house, and I'm taking that out to update it to a shower. I've always had a tub because I've had doggies, to bathe doggies, and I don't currently have one and don't see myself having one in the foreseeable future. So I am taking it out. Thank you, Geraldine. Taking it out for a shower. And so working with the company 6-3 Tile, and it's panels. I have the lightness of the panels is a lot better than tile for a house that is on a trailer. It's an easier install than having to have a tiler, somebody who works in tile. I don't know if they call themselves tiler, but I just made that up maybe. So I'll be sharing that as well. So stay tuned for that. Deborah is saying, lifelong learners, we have different lens to see things through due to our experiences and time on the journey. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a people. Thank you. Michelle is saying, I never thought of regrouping yourself as repotting. I don't know. I think it makes sense for like the levels of a plant and repotting, the pruning, repotting. I think it's even some scriptures that talk about pruning, and I think maybe that just made sense to me in this conversation. So, and I think it's easy to think about that. Like it's an easy metaphor to apply to some of the work we might have to do. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. I'm not sure what a steam shower, like it's just gonna be a regular shower, but I'm taking out the tub, but it's gonna be really pretty. Happy Sunday, WLJ. Michelle is asking, since I've moved, have I changed anything inside? If so, I'm sure not only I, but others as well would like to see it. I did. Maybe I'll do a walkthrough here and create some video. I did share it on Instagram, but I should share it over here. I'll have to put together a video. There was a lot to putting this room back together, or really putting the house back together, since this had been cut off from the tiny house. So it was major putting my little Humpty Dumpty back together again. And so I have some video of what that looks like. So I'll put something together and share it over here, for sure. And welcome. I don't know that I've seen your name before, so welcome to the community. Phyllis is saying, learning new things helps us to keep looking forward versus looking back. I agree with that a lot. You got to learn from what's behind you, but if you're constantly looking backward, like you're saying, you can't progress. You're not gonna grow. You're not gonna progress. Evelyn is asking, Evelyn is saying a walkthrough. Sandra is asking, did I take everything off the walls when I moved? So it depends on what part of the house we're talking about. So and I'm assuming that you're probably asking for, because you have a tiny house on wheels. So in the part of the house, the add-on space, the entourage, as I call it, the sunroom and porch, I emptied everything out of that. Because it had to be cut and lifted and put on the back of 18 wheelers. And so everything had to be emptied out of this space, and I put it in a pod. And I had a pod sitting here for it. I think the pod just left. Yeah, the pod. I just removed the pod last month. So I had a pod from December to March. In the tiny house, when I move the tiny house, I do take everything off of the walls. I don't necessarily take stuff out of the house when I'm moving it, but I put boxes, and I think I also have some videos, so maybe I'll do that as well over here. I put boxes in the floor and stuff that I know that's gonna fall off the wall or slide off a shelf, I put in boxes. And so I empty out my glasses out of my cabinets. I don't take like the plates and stuff out. A lot of my drawers I will secure with tape or like bungee cords, things that won't get broken but are okay to slide around. I kind of just secure that with bungee cords. But things that I know are going to slide around and break, I do remove, but I just put them in boxes inside the house. Some of my artwork I placed on my bed. My bigger pieces I just place on the bed or place it like on the couch, things that just need a place to sit. I also use my bathtub. Like I'll put boxes in the bathtub and sit stuff over in the boxes in the bathtub. But anything like hanging, I've got some art that hangs. I've removed that. Anything that could potentially swing and might hit a window, those things I secure, but I don't empty. I don't have to necessarily take it out of the house. But I'm mindful of, because I'm usually sitting in place for a long time, I am mindful of weight. And so if I feel like I've got more stuff in the house than I should, I might remove something, and to make sure I'm kind of within weight capacity. And it's just a kind of a guessing game, but you want to be careful that you haven't added a lot of stuff to the house that is outside the capacity for your trailer. I hope I answered that. I do have some pictures, I think, on IG. So as I do a walkthrough over here, I'll share those pictures. Absolutely. Hey, Pat, happy Sunday. WLJ, be safe. Pat, you be safe. Pat is saying, I'm learning to remove the weeds and watering when needed. That's a good piece to that metaphor. Absolutely. Adiba is saying, it seems that what is key to your life and perhaps for all of us is patience, meaning consistent, steady forward movement is a relaxed, easy energy. I would agree with that. Absolutely. Pat is saying, like a plant, I need fresh air, nutrients, sunlight, and space to expand. Absolutely. That's why I feel like the plant metaphor works so well for us and the growth and change that reinvention that we might need. Okay, good. Sandra, I'm glad I answered your question. So folks are on the road. Folks are Gloria says I need a skincare line sponsor. Thank you. I am my skincare is absolutely in the genes, and a bonus that I'm grateful for, a blessing that I'm grateful for, because oil of Olay soap and a light moisturizer is what I have done for all of my life. I laugh with my friends, a massage therapist, and one of my friends who does skincare. I've never had a facial because I'm grateful. I gratefully don't have skincare issues, and I'm scared to do a facial just in case some stuff pops up that and then becomes a problem that I've never had. So I've never done a facial, but I'm very cautious about what I changing up my routine. Like years ago in Atlanta, there used to be Mary Kay consultants who would be walking through the mall, and it would be one of those things where they kind of trick you, and it'd be somebody looking all normal, and they just come up and start talking and be real friendly and engage you in conversation, and then in the next few minutes they'd turn into their sales spiel, and then you realize it was a Mary Kay consultant. And so at one point I tried some Mary Kay products, and this was, I'm gonna say, early 2000s, late 1990s, and it was early 2000s, and that didn't work. It ended up giving me some dry patches, and so I had to tell myself that's what I get for trying to be fancy and buy some products. So I went back to my oil of Olay soap and a light moisturizer, and leave all the other stuff alone. But thank you, I appreciate that so much. I got a list of some sponsors. I need to start putting my sponsors out there of who I'd like to work with. Yes. I think your last statement summarizes it all. Don't put more in the capacity of what your trailer can hold. I like that. Um, thank you, Crystal. Um, yeah, I can't do a whole lot. It's got to be simple. That's okay, WLJ. I knew what was going on. Right. Don't go looking for trouble. If it works like it works, just leave it alone. And that's what I'm doing. Um, my hair is nice. What am I using? Thank you. I think it's called the Dew. Let me look it up. It's DOUX. I think that's right. Let's see. Yes. Um, DOUX hair products. I have been using their um, texture foam, and it's called Most Def. And then all of their products are named like hip hop things. So they have a texture foam that's called Most Def, like my dude. And then I use their, sometimes I use their gel. It's called Big Papa. And then they have a, um, something else I use of theirs. But I am trying not to use a lot of product. So, um, not doing a lot of product, and I'm not doing any color. The color is the gray that is just fortunately I like it, but it is taken over and I don't want to color it. If I were to color it, I think I'd do some platinum, like just take all the dark out and just be platinum. I'm trying to think of the product is the name of the brand is the DOUX, and I use their texture foam, Mousse Def, Big Papa is the gel, and then there's one more thing that I use, but I don't see it on the website. Um, okay, Earth Mother is telling us about fresh. I don't know, is that a typo? Something fresh in Atlanta uses food and plants during facials. I had a lovely one there in August. Black eyed peas, cucumbers, and so much more. Interesting. Um, very interesting. Um, yeah, okay. That's helpful to know. Pat is saying sometimes you have to plant yourself in unfamiliar soil to realize your strength and resilience. Interesting. Okay. I can go with that one. I can go with that one. Um, Crystal is telling us about hydrothermaturals.com, a Black woman owned company. Is that hair products or skin products? The Dew is also Black owned. Key is saying we must get out of our own way. We have to get out of our own head. When you are in your own head, you're sabotaging yourself. Yeah, we talked about that for sure last week, the ways we sabotage our reinventions, because we're not necessarily willing to do the work, or we're hesitating about doing the work, or we're listening to somebody else, or we're just stuck in this place. And so absolutely, I agree with that. Okay. Crystal is saying it's some hair products. I saw that, Cynthia. Cynthia's talking about Tamron's segment on tiny homes. I did see that. Iwi. Okay, I got it. Iwi. Thank you for clarifying that for me. Iwi Fresh. Okay, so folks know about Iwi Fresh. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations, WLJ. That's beautiful. Hi, Linda. Hi, Linda. Welcome. All right, good people. I hope y'all have a good rest of the week. Um, I hope you're in some good spaces. You're taking care of yourself. You're staying in, being in community. Um, Last week, so over on Patreon, we are actually discussing communities and um, Crystal. Um, and so last week we in our Patreon conversation, um, we're looking at the history of communities and looking at different parts of communities. And so last week we looked at Black Wall Street. We looked at uh, y'all know my brain. We looked at 3 communities, is what I need to say, and looked at the history of communities. And Idlewild was one of the ones, and I can't think of the third name. And so we're doing that through the end of the year, looking at community apply, and we're talking physical, literal community as well as figurative community. We've been speaking about how important community is in where we are right now and what's going on right now. And so that is the deeper dive that we're doing over in the Patreon community. And this week we have our book club, and we are reading Christine Platt's book, The Afro Minimalist. And so please join us if you'd like to be, I'd like to go a bit further in the community conversation. The chat is making me laugh, y'all. Sorry. But please join us on Patreon if you'd like to be in community a little bit deeper. We use Zoom over there so we can be in real conversation and see each other and do all of the things. And so I'd love to have you join us. And I'm going to drop. I got a link over here somewhere for Patreon, so you can join me on Patreon. And would love to have you. Our community conversations are on Wednesday, and so we're meeting again this Wednesday. Crystal is cracking me up. All right. That's all I got for y'all today. I hope y'all have a great rest of the week. Some of y'all I will see later in the week. Some of y'all I will see on the socials. And I appreciate you all being here on Sundays with me. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you, Zion. I really enjoyed being bald. I miss being bald. It might be something that I come back to. I have an aunt who will be 102 this year, and she actually struggled with me being bald, and so this hair is a gift to her. um, Sometimes you just have to let the older folks have their say sometimes, and so I'm letting her have her say. Plus, as I kind of accidentally let my hair grow back, it was painful for my hair growing back, so I know if I cut my hair off again, I'm not doing that again. So just gonna ride this out for a bit and see how it works out. But thank you so much. I really, really enjoy being bald. It is and again, I understand not everyone who is bald has a choice. So I had a choice to be bald, and that was a different liberation for me. So I'm not speaking on folks who are put in that situation and they don't have a choice. But for me, there was a lot of liberation in being bald. So thank you. All right. Yes, Evelyn, we'll see you Wednesday. Thank you, Sandra. I will talk to you again soon. Everybody have a great week. And take care. And I will. No, Auntie was not playing about my hair. She gets real serious about hair. Y'all take care. Thank you, Rosalind. I miss chatting with you. Y'all take care. I'll talk to you soon.